When are the pandas coming back?
I hope that they're coming back as soon as possible.
And will they come back to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C.?
It depends on you.
Are we likely to see a return to wolf warrior diplomacy, and how is that lovable?
I don't really believe that there has always been a kind of wolf warrior diplomacy, and there's no talk about coming back to that diplomacy. Chinese diplomats, both at home and around the world, should stay disciplined and disciplined, and in terms of making sure that they have very strong moral integration and work hard. So it's not really something about a kind of wolf warrior, quote unquote. So I think that the fundamental goal of China's diplomats would be to contribute their efforts in making sure that China's relations with other countries be warm and cooperative, and then by that we mean that we try to create a favorable international environment for China's modernization drive.
Let's talk about one of those relationships, the relationship between China and Russia. How do you see Russia and China working together to modify the existing world order?
I think that really it's not really limited only to China and Russia. I think that one of the features of the global transformation would be the collective emergence of the developing powers. I mean, a collective rise of the emerging economies, including China, Russia, India, Brazil. So certainly China and Russia are part of the transformation powers. So I think that the China-Russia relations is strong, and we really enjoy a good neighborly relationship and also very strong strategic partnership.
How do you reconcile that with China's support for Russia's attack on Ukraine?
I don't believe that, when you say that China supports the military operation on Ukraine, because we do believe that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a country must be respected. And in the context of the Ukraine crisis, I think there's more to that. And the security concern of a country, in particular in this regard, in this context, Russia, must also be very well addressed. So I think in terms of sustained peace and stability in the world, I think that there should be a balance of addressing of all the concerns of all the countries in the world. So I think that the Ukraine crisis is more complex than it appears to be. So we believe that all the parties that are involved in the conflict and crisis should try to find out in a faithful manner then how to bring an end to the crisis as soon as possible, because the world has already suffered from the spillover effects of the Ukraine crisis. So I hope that the United States, the NATO members, European partners should work to find out what should be the right way to move about the Ukraine crisis.
Let's talk about U.S.-China relations. What specific areas of cooperation do you think the U.S. and China can work together on? And what would you expect to see as deliverables over the course of 2024?
I don't really see any area that China cannot really cooperate with the United States. But if the two countries really have reasonable and correct perceptions of each other, good policies will be possible. So there's a tremendous potential for the largest developed country in the world and the largest developing country in the world. But now I think that it's really up for the United States to develop a kind of perception on China based on good understanding and correct understanding of China's strategic intentions. China does grow, and it has the right to grow in strength, and so China will naturally become more powerful in terms of its economy, its military, and many other areas as well. But China's intention is basically to deliver a better life for the Chinese people. So we don't really have any hidden agenda. Overtaking the United States is not our goal. So if we have that in mind, the kind of mutually beneficial cooperation would be possible.
Let's switch to Taiwan.
The unification of China and also has always been the dream of the Chinese people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. So I think that this is the firm and clear and strong policy of the Chinese government and the strong aspiration of the Chinese people. So apart from that, I think there's no need to explain our position on the Taiwan issue.
My question to you is actually about Western media. We talked about misunderstanding and misperceptions that the U.S. has about China, and I think that the U.S. audience relies heavily on reporting from Western media. I'm wondering if you agree that Western media is important to the way that the U.S. sees China, and if yes, what can China do to help improve that reporting and coverage?
China has always been taking a very positive and supportive position on encouraging more foreign journalists to come to China and report and to see China for themselves and report China in a very accurate and objective way. But it's true that we do have differences. Even when journalists come to China, they do see China in a way that is different from our expectations, because we believe that China is like this, but they are portraying China in a different way. And that sometimes creates some difficulties, but that's not the mainstream of things. But I hope that in this regard, China and the Western media could really work in a more strong cooperative way to make sure that our pupils will understand each other better through the media.
Israel was the first state in the Middle East to recognize the People's Republic of China in 1950. And over the more recent years, you have developed very strong economic relations with Israel. On October the 7th, China has not yet condemned the terrorist attack on Israel. Could you explain why that is?
Let me say that we appreciate the fact that Israel was one of the first countries that recognized China. And for many, many years, China and Israel have really very good and cooperative and warm relations with each other. And also our people share a lot of good emotions towards each other. What I want to correct you is that on the very first day of the October the 7th attack, China did condemn the attack on the civilians. So if you track the record, you'll find that. But now, the overuse of force and the obvious revengeful retaliation by the Israelis on Palestinians is something that is also unacceptable to us. And that results in tremendous humanitarian sufferings and crisis. So we do hope that the crisis, the conflict could come to an end, and the Israelis should stop, behave in such a manner, and so there could be a restoration of order.
Could you comment on what efforts China is undertaking to build its current arsenal?
China does attach great importance to the nuclear security in the world, and China made it very clear that China will not, on the very first day that China developed the nuclear bomb, we say that China will not be the first one to use the nuclear bomb, and China will not use the nuclear bomb against any country, the non-nuclear country. And, we have the common consensus on the nuclear war can never be won and must never be fought.